So you know what I learned about overcoming 35 years of alcohol consumption is that our problems are self-created, man. This is a thing. When we drink and become unconscious, become angry, and just make bad decisions, man. Just make so many bad decisions throughout our life. Every decision that we make has a consequence, right? Cause and effect. And if you're not in your optimal state of mind when you're navigating through your world due to any kind of vices, whether it be drugs or alcohol or whatever it may be, I always like to use alcohol because that's the one that got me the most. You're going to make a mess of your life, man. This is the thing. And I know it goes way beyond that. The thing is, people use these vices to escape reality. And when you use these vices to escape reality, you're creating an unfavorable reality. There's no escaping reality. You're either consciously creating it by design, or you're unconsciously creating it or making a mess of it by being under the influence of a vice, right? So this is the thing, man. And normally, when we drink, we get into an altered state of consciousness where we don't really see through things, to their most beneficial extent. And we tend to take risks and do things and say things and whatever the case may be that we regret after we become sober or back to this reality, so to speak, right? This is the thing, man. I mean, even after you become sober, even after you give up on the vices, depending on how long you've used them for, in my case, it was 35 years. It takes a long time. It takes a long time to, get the brain and get the perception and the residual fuckery that still comes with it for years, sometimes down the road, that are catching up to you from those decisions that you made when you're under the influence of alcohol, right? And it takes years, man. I'm 2.5 years in now. And it's still, I'm trying to get to that balance or whatever that point is where I can feel normal throughout the day. I mean, normal, right? I've got relatives that never touched a vice in their life, right? Never drank, never did drugs. And I passed this one relative today. He's wrote a few books. He's been the mayor of the town. He's been principal of schools. Very intellectual man. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he's almost in his mid-80s. And he's still out sawing wood up, mowing lawns, outworking me, for Christ's sakes. Double my age, right? And this is the thing. This is what happens when you don't drink. There's another lady who lives in my town. She's in her 90s, and she's doing laps around me. I do this boardwalk. Well, at least I try to do it every now and again, and this woman is doing laps around me in her 90s. So it goes to show you, man, like, age is only a number, and it really shows on who has abused their body over time. When you see people like that, it just blows my mind, really does. And the person who decides to quit all the vices and shift their perspective on life and still have the days where it's just so crippling, man, to get through the day, and you feel depressed and you feel like you've lost for purpose and you feel lethargic at times. I mean, I still get there, man. And it's crippling, and it's like, the only way through it is it's just a stagnant energy, man. It truly is. And it comes down to dopamine. If you know about dopamine, It's a neurochemical in our brains that gives us, pleasure and reward. That's from drinking or any kind of vice or drugs that we use. These dopamine hits, but people are getting them now just artificially through TikTok and through scrolling these videos aimlessly and whatever the case may be. But dopamine is something that alcohol will give you a large amount of, or any kind of adult content or drugs, whatever it is. It's all about feeling good, right? And what happens is that these dopamine receptors can no longer produce adequate amount of dopamine because the receptors are fried, right? And this is the thing, man. It takes a lot of work to rewire the brain. It takes a lot of work to get the receptors in your brain working again, and to able to enjoy life and the simple things in life. It loses all meaning because we've related life to these pleasure-seeking activities for so long that, once you become sober, it takes a long time, man. It takes a long time to get back to normal reality, man, and just be able to find pleasure without drinking and without doing narcotics and without drink and without any of the vices. It takes a long time, man. And you just have to change your habits. Obviously, we've all heard this, start working out, start reading books, start going for walks, whatever it is. So you got to replace one habit with another. And obviously, we want to replace our shitty habits with more favorable habits that are going to benefit our life and not obviously destroy our lives. But yeah, I just felt the need to drop that video all of a sudden. I don't know where that came from. Anyways, with that being said, thanks for tuning in. See you in the next. Take it easy.